Hey, Husker fans, Sam McEwen along with Tom Shatel for Tom Shatel's Monday Press Pass with the Omaha World-Herald, Omaha.com, and HusksterExtra.com. Well, Tom, we heard a lot from Coach Scott Frost today. You've got a mailbag for us and some questions to answer, but I wanted to start with this. Scott Frost really talking hardcore about the offensive line right off the top and needing to potentially make major changes there.
Yeah, that was the big story of the day. It was good to hear because we all want answers about the offensive line, right? And they're not really saying much about what they need to be doing. They need to be playing better. Well, the fact that he pointed out that he wants a left guard and a right tackle. He didn't name names,
That's like
but
a Papal Bull.
Yeah.
You know?
But that's okay. He's the head coach. He's allowed to do that. He's not showing anybody up. He's just telling the truth. I thought that was interesting. Also, the revelation that head coach is assisting the offensive line coach, coaching the offensive line. May not bode well for the O-line coach, but I guess if you look at it the other way, he's trying to help. So we'll see how that works out.
Well, I think there's a clarity that if they get just a little bit better there, they've got a quarterback that they're really happy with right now, and they're doing well enough at the skill positions to get it going. So that'll be interesting to watch. With Scott Frost basically saying major changes may be coming to the offensive line. Now, from the mailbag, we got 3 questions off of Twitter. The first one is from Aaron Britton, and it's about Trev Alberts and whether or not Trev should say something to the team, or particularly to Frost, or he should say something to the fans. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think Aaron wants to hear from Trev. I don't think we're going to hear from Trev, unfortunately, Aaron, and that's fine with me. I don't think the AD should say much during the season. Different ADs have really kind of gone either way on that. Sean Eichhorst said no, and then finally he did when it was time to panic. I think it does show a little sign of panic when the AD does that. We used to have Bill Moose, who would love to talk and loved to be a cheerleader and loved to tell everybody it was okay. So, but I like Trev's approach, stay in the background, but he is talking with Scott Frost every Sunday. He's at practices. He knows football. I think it's in good hands, but the proper approach is to stay out of the way, which now all 3 of these are kind of tied together, Sam. The next one is from Alex Shriver. A ton of Husker fans are calling for Frost to be fired. What's your message to them? My message to them is go ahead and call for it, but I don't think it's going to happen. And I'll say that for a couple of reasons. One, I don't think Trev Alberts wants to change coaches in his first year. He would prefer that they win and go to a bowl game and then not have to deal with anything. Now, he may not get that choice, but I believe also that he's going to give Scott another year. Regardless, I think he wants to treat a former Husker legend in many ways. He wants to treat him right. And I just think that, obviously the buyout, I don't know about the NCAA investigation where that ties into that, but I just don't think he would prefer not to have to do that this year. So I don't think that's going to happen. Another reason I don't think it's going to happen is I don't think Nebraska's defense is going to let the season get out of hand. I think it would have to really, you'd have to have a collapse and blowout losses toward the end. I don't see a lot of offenses that are going to blow people out in the Big Ten. If you look at the schedule, there's not a lot of great offenses.
You wonder a little bit about Ohio State, but other than
that,
no,
I don't
see it either. Man.
So I think Nebraska's defense is going to keep them in every game, and they're going to keep them competitive. So I don't see a scenario where he gets fired this year, which leads us to the last question. Will Frost make staff changes? Yes, I believe that could happen. The offensive line is on the
hot seat.
Hot seat, yes, thank you. It's hot on the turf here. I should have known that. I think obviously when the head coach is helping and getting involved in a position that puts the hot seat on the O-line. O-line's got to get better. It is holding it back. Special teams, I think what you could see would be a situation where possibly have a new offensive line coach if this keeps going, and a special teams coach, not only a new one, but just one in general. We don't have that, and if you can't figure out where to punt the ball, and the coaches are in charge of that. You can blame the punter for not executing that. That's fine, but the coaches are in charge of making that happen. Personally, I don't see why they couldn't have tried to just punt it down the middle. When you have two guys on either side, make them go chase the ball. But of course, he couldn't probably have done that either. So
I think they told him to punt it right because they thought it would be easier for him to do.
Well,
and he couldn't do it.
They need to find a punter. It's the fourth year. There's no excuses to not have a punter.
I think they tried to make it easier for him.
Well,
don't punt it. Just punt it over there to the right.
They can't control. He can't control where it's going, so
and
it's fine.
Hooked it.
But
he's Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, well, that's another story But I really feel like the special teams. If you don't want to have special teams that make a difference, at least don't have them make a negative difference. But. So I think that these are two things I think will happen at the end of the year. Finally, I've got a prediction. I'm not waiting for next week. I'm going to predict that Nebraska will win the next two games. They announced that the Michigan game,
bold call,
is a night game. I felt that all along that Frost is going to get a signature win this year, and people are on him, and the chips are down. So on and so forth. I think he's going to beat somebody like that, and I've always said Michigan at home was the game that could really change a lot for him. So now that it's a night game, I see Michigan is playing well or better than they were last year, but I think Nebraska's defense can and Martinez is playing well enough to get a little offensive line help,
right?
And maybe the timing of this is pretty good. And of course, they've got to beat Northwestern first. They always have a hard time doing that here. They've only beaten them twice on this field. One, I was standing here watching Jordan Westerkamp do his thing all the way down there. So we'll see. But I think they win the next two. And nobody will be talking about him getting fired for the rest of the season. Now, we'll come back next Monday on the Press Pass and we'll see if I'm right. At least half right. In 2 weeks, I'm going to guarantee it. I'll be 100% right.
Joe Namath here.
How about that?
On Tom Shatel's Press Pass. Well, hey, if they don't beat Northwestern, I think it could be pretty grim here next Monday, however hot it is.
I won't be making.
His seat will be high.
There may be other predictions we've had that happen, yes.
But as for now, Joe Namath says the next two are going Nebraska's way, and hell, if they do that, they might just beat Minnesota and Minneapolis too. We'll find out. For Tom Shatel, I'm Sam McEwen. This is Tom Shatel's Press Pass on the Omaha World-Herald, omaha.com, and huskerextra.com. Thanks, Husker fans.
See you next week.